Hello Bonaparte listeners, it's Rebecca. I just wanted to tell you that we are now on Patreon with 6 different subscription tiers and lots of exciting treats and extras, including bonus mini episodes, monthly catch-ups, Ask Me Anythings and more. So listen to the podcast, follow us on Instagram, and please go to patreon.com/Bonaparte podcast to learn more. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Rebecca. It's Beatrice.
Hi Beatrice, it's Rebecca. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
You sounded a little hesitant. Are you sure?
Yes, I've just been to the hairdresser actually.
Oh, marvellous. How was that?
That was nice. I actually like going to the hairdresser, and they had
Good.
they had a nice soundtrack today. It was quite 80s. There was a bit of The Cure, which I
Oh,
hadn't
fun.
listened to for a very, very long time. There was a bit of, Velvet Underground for me is the 80s because I listened to them in the 80s, not earlier.
Fair enough.
So there was a bit of that. And I've hardly got any hair left, but that's quite nice.
But are you happy with what you've got left?
I'm very happy with what I've got left. I've got this sort of thing at the front, which sometimes looks like a wave, and it does its own
Wow.
thing. It's like a
Oh.
lock that does its own thing, and I quite like that. I
Wow.
quite like occasionally checking what it's doing. So
You can do lock watch.
exactly, yeah. I could have
Wow.
a whole Instagram account about my lock,
You
I think. I could.
I would follow it.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
What about you?
Well, my hair is not doing anything interesting. I want to make that clear.
Okay.
There's no point watching it, really, I
Okay.
don't think. No. But this week, what have I been thinking about? Well, I've been doing lots of writing. I'm steadily getting through chapter 3. That's hopefully going to be done by the next time I speak to you.
That's amazing. You're on a roll.
I'm on a roll, and I'm listening to Kanye. He's very good to write to.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He is. He really gets me fired up, and I'm writing and writing. And I looked at the Met Gala pictures.
Yes, I did.
Yes. I mean, yes. But what I did find fascinating was Kim.
Yeah.
Fascinated by Kim. By the all black, total black, absolutely black outfit. And firstly, I was very entertained by the fact that she didn't recognize Kendall because she couldn't really see her.
Yeah.
So that was very funny. But I liked this kind of sense, like Alyssa, my friend from Momo, she said it's like she's so famous she can just be a shadow now. And I like that kind of idea of kind of thinking about how she was completely anonymous and yet she wasn't.
No.
Because her silhouette is so familiar.
Yeah.
That we immediately knew it was her. And clearly it was not Kanye with her. But it was interesting that the person with her, was it Demna? I don't know. But that person was trying to do the Kanye slightly hunched shoulders, like the way he stands, which is so particular. But I don't think it was Kanye. But I think it was just such an interesting thing. And like she was talking about how, what's more American than a t-shirt. I didn't actually get t-shirt from
No, that's
looking
not
at it.
the thing that I was gonna.
No. But I liked it. I thought it was interesting because, as you know, I really love those. I can't remember what season they were, but the Margiela crystal masks that Kanye has worn. And then Kanye is wearing all kinds of different masks at the moment. And I think it's really interesting as a kind of reaction to global terrible things happening. But it's also about celebrity. It's like a strange mixture of really deep, meaningful things and really, well, celebrity can still be meaningful, but kind of visibility, invisibility, reaching a level of visibility where you don't have to be visible, but you're still visible.
Yeah, I'm sort of partly quiet because it's sort of, I find it very meta. It's just too
It
much.
is.
It's sort of twisting my head. And I was also trying to figure out who else could have done that and people would still have
That's
known,
true. That's
because
true.
there are probably hardly any people who could have.
That's true because it is like her actual body is so distinct, but also having the ponytail. I know
Yes.
Ariana does the ponytail. There are other ponytails,
Mm.
but there's something about the combination
Yeah, that's
that
true.
is so much her.
Mm.
And it was also funny or interesting in relation to Lil Nas.
Yes.
I always have trouble saying
Yeah,
Lil.
me too.
I can never say it right. Anyway,
Maybe there's a course.
yes, perhaps there
I
is.
would
We
need
need
to
to
have to
take that.
go to one. Mm.
Yes, because then you sound like you're 800 years old when you say Little Miss Kim
Yes.
instead of Lil Kim. But anyway, it was kind of interesting. Like they were kind of polar opposites and yet two sides of the same coin in their outfits. Because the way that he had that gigantic gold cloak,
Yes.
which required several gentlemen to interact with it,
I liked how they were dressed.
I
Gentlemen.
liked them.
Yes.
Yes, I liked the
Nice
gentlemen. I
gold
thought, what
chains.
outfit can I have
Mm.
where I get those two gentlemen along with my outfit?
Mm.
That I'd like. But I like the way, and then he goes to, C3PO, I am machine, Metropolis, and then he's the sparkly insides of a computer kind of thing. That was all really good, but he was like reveal after reveal, very Drag Race, but
Mm.
reveal after reveal. But she was just, I've disappeared and I will not reappear.
Yeah. I wonder. Hmm. Yeah. It's just this thing about, like you say, about being invisible and a shadow and a hole in a
Mm,
way, a black hole.
yes.
But then so obviously not. That is just really so
Mm,
mind-boggling.
it is. And it's like the first reaction is perhaps shock or laughing or whatever, but then it kind of, like you said, it sort of pulls you in
Mm.
because there's so much bad stuff going on in the world at the moment that it seems to be connected with that, that it's like it seems to be commenting on that or maybe not commenting but
Yeah, and it also, I think
exposing it. I don't know.
it is quite, it is very daring as well. Or daring is maybe not the
Yes.
right word, but I thought, I when I looked through the images and I diligently, I didn't watch the actual, I didn't watch people in motion so much. I just went
No.
through the images. I just thought, oh, this one leg out thing, I thought that had gone, but there was so much of this, one leg poking out of a long skirt,
Yeah.
and
Yes,
and
that's
and the
true.
majority of the women wearing long dresses. I know that maybe it's partly to do with the theme. I don't know, but I feel there was a time when some women wore suits, or it just seemed,
Yes.
it seemed, apart from a few people, it seemed quite trad, and maybe that is part of being about fashion history or whatever. I don't know. I don't know, but I
Mm.
just thought, I thought hers, I salute her for doing.
I do. I think it was provocative and it was interesting, that she's done cover it up before because when she was pregnant, she had that Givenchy that was all flowers
Mm,
and the gloves. And she's done like recently, like at the Donda listening parties, kind of more fetishy,
yes, I saw that. Yeah.
well, definitely more fetishy covering up. But this, I mean, I'm sure someone does find this fetishistic
Mm,
because you can find anything, but it seemed to be something else. It didn't seem like that was the point. The point was intense presence and yet erasure.
mm. Yeah, and the material that must have been, because I saw one picture where there was a close up of her gloves or whatever,
Mm.
and they looked a little bit sparkly.
Oh, did
Yeah,
they?
but maybe that
So I
was
thought it was
just,
really matte.
exactly. Maybe that was just the way it was photographed, but I thought it was just so matte, really. And
It was, and that was another real statement and real difference from everyone else
true.
because, I mean, as you saw going back to Lil Nas again, it was phenomenal that clip I sent you, which I think was from Variety maybe,
Mm,
how it's about catching the light
yes.
and retaining the light. And, you know, his layers of different textures of gold, and his like skin's all really glowy and beautiful, and he's got those little gold flicks on his eyes,
Yes.
and the way the cameras are just flashing and going crazy. It's just entirely about, you know, representing the light, being the light, reflecting the light. It's all about that. And hers was absolute, because don't you get told not to wear black on TV and stuff because it
Yeah.
doesn't photograph well? And it was like the opposite of that, but she can do that. So she can become, and it was very funny, like when she was with Kendall, who was wearing that, it was like it was, you know, just the jeweled bits of that Audrey Hepburn My Fair Lady dress had survived, and
Oh, that's really good.
the rest of the material had faded away. But it was very funny because it was like someone had cut a
Yes,
silhouette
that's
out of
true.
the
Mm.
picture, and that she wasn't really even there
Yeah.
because it looked so strange in combination with sparkly girls.
Mm.
It was really a lot. I feel I'm going to be thinking about this for quite some time.
Yeah. Me too, I think. Me too, twisting my.
Yeah. I liked it as well that we got the before glam pictures of Mario giving her perfect makeup, because even if you've got a black thing over your face, you must still have perfect
Of
makeup.
course.
And it's also linked, Beatrice, to one of our icons, Musidora, as
That's
Alma Verde.
so true. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I really, really hope that was, you know,
The inspiration.
on the
Yeah,
mood
yeah.
board,
I hope so too.
because that's one of my all-time favorites ever in the history of anything.
That's such a. I can't believe I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that, like, think of that one. I can't remember which one of it is, but where she's wearing the black bodysuit and the head covering, and she's creeping, but she's got shiny shoes on. Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic! Just to go and burgle and be a villainess.
yeah.
So I liked that. It had nothing to do with American. I do think it was, as you know, I think we could write a thesis on it as a statement of American identities at this moment, and America and crisis.
Mm,
But we could also just think about it with
yeah.
Musidora.
No, let's do that.
Yes, that's probably a lighter way to think of it. Ha ha bonk, because it's dark.
But speaking of Elisa and Kanye, is your article out yet?
Yes, yes, Beatrice, yes. I haven't got the book in my hands. I haven't got that yet, but Alyssa sent it to me this week, she said. Yes, amazing Alyssa's amazing show at Momu, Emotion. I think it's called, I think the subtitle's like Fashion in Transition. That opened maybe last week.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just
Oh, I wish
open.
we could go.
Oh, when does it go on to? Because I think we should try. I think, mind you, COVID restrictions are so tricky, aren't they?
Mm.
It's on until the 23rd of January.
Ah, so that might work.
So maybe over the Christmas holidays we could go.
Mm.
Because I so want to see Alyssa, and I so want to see this, and I think it's such a brilliant approach to fashion, because she's thinking about like emotion, and like the E and the M have a slash between them, because it's both fashion and emotion, and fashion in motion.
Ah, of course. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. And it may be literal motion, or it may be motion as transition.
Wow. More meta things
I
going
mean,
on.
we are just meta
Yeah.
today.
So, how did you decide what to write?
Well, when Alyssa originally asked me, I can't remember when that was, but when she asked me, she said, would I do something that was kind of not updating, but like thinking about my first book, Fashion Desire and Anxiety. And I didn't want to, like, she left it open, but I could have just done like an update or a comment on it. And I didn't want to, because, like, I don't really like, well, I don't like reading my things. Like, once I've written them, I just want them to go away and live somewhere else. And I didn't want to just do that. So I just kept thinking about the themes of fashion desire and anxiety, and you know, it's about kind of excess, and but also utopianism, and gender, but also erasing gender, and violence, but also fashion as healing. So it was about like how contradictory fashion is, and that's the point. That was the point of the book. And anyway, when I was like going through and like flipping through, I managed to look at the contents page. I didn't read the actual thing. I pulled a few quotes. But anyway, when I was like thinking about it and what the kind of core emotions were when I was writing it, I just kept thinking of Kim and Kanye. And I kind of like each chapter I kept thinking, oh, that's like Kim or that's like Kanye. And I know I'm obsessed with them, so I would think that everything is about them. But I also just increasingly felt that they represented fashion desire and anxiety, that they are fashion desire and anxiety, that sometimes they're more one of the three than the other, sometimes they're two of the three, sometimes one of them is desire and one is anxiety. But I felt like the way both of them have really explored identities and creating your own identity. But there's kind of, Kim, it's easy to read her in terms of desire and sort of eroticism and kind of shaping your body into this incredible
Mm.
form and flaunting your body. But I think there's also kind of an anxiety, a kind of staving off age and staving off criticism of your body, and like the amazing intensity of
Mm.
publicity on her body, and how she's gone through all these different things in her life, and they're present and they're in the public eye. And I think both she and Kanye, you have a sense, particularly like listening to his music in your ears, you feel immersed in it, and it's very intimate, but you're never actually being truly let in. Do you know what I mean? It's again contradictory. So anyway, that was a very long answer, but that was why, because I just kept coming back to them as really in the last 10, 15 years, really representing those things
Mm.
globally.
And so what did you write about exactly?
Exactly. Do you want me to read it
I
to
would
you?
love that. As you
It
can
was,
imagine, I would absolutely love that. But
I'll do it as a, well, I know you love a story being
mm.
told to you. So I'll maybe, I'll read it. I'll make it into an audio book. No, but seriously, I was, well, the other thing that I became kind of fascinated by was the way that both of them are really drawn to skin tones, like the full
Mm.
spectrum of skin tones in the clothes that they produce. But that with Yeezy, he's constantly going out from the body. Like there might be, skin tight things underneath, but there's always like bulk. And the way that he wears kind of huge, padded,
Yeah.
jackets and stuff, and that he goes outwards. And so it's all about skin and a second skin, but it's one that seems very much like comforting, but also protective and
Mm.
defensive. And then Kim and Skims is going in, so it's literally a second skin, but it's also protective because it's shaping and holding you in. And I thought that was a really interesting,
Mm.
yeah, dichotomy. I don't know if it's a dichotomy, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting that it's bodies. And I think also, I mean, Kanye's so amazingly
Hmm.
problematic with a lot of things he says, and his politics is hugely problematic. But it seems to sometimes also contradict what he's actually doing, because I felt a lot of the videos for the last album and, buying this enormous ranch in Wyoming was almost like this kind of, and also like his fascination with
Mm.
Americana in terms of clothing that goes way back even to when he was being preppy and Ralph Lauren was like this kind of his like family, his entourage claiming American land for people of color,
Mm.
and like having these, what do you call, can't remember what they're called, those like huge tank like vehicles that you have him driving around in some of his videos, that they were like, instead of it being, the wagons and the white colonizers, it was like this reclaiming of land and this utopian desire, and like the collaborations with James Turrell and the Sunday service, and this kind of search for something greater, and this search for something, well, yeah, utopian, but within that there's that darkness of what he's actually
Mm.
saying, and that just reflects this complete anxiety and it's like that weird combination, and I think the clothing really connects with that.
I've got two questions. So one is
Okay, two
one is
questions.
I think when you talked to me about the article when you were writing it or thinking about it, I think before you
Mm,
mentioned a photographer. So I want to know a bit more about that. And then the other thing
yes.
um, that I again can't get my head around what it is about is that he often puts a lot of people in not the same clothes, but it's just when you were saying utopia always seems to mean with him community and being with a lot of people,
Yeah.
or but then people often call it an army, which then is not a community, that's something else. So
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, I think to take your second question first,
thank you.
I think you're welcome. I think that sense of community is really strong, that he's kind of searching for that, but then he also, because there's this quote I cited in the article about him saying he's like the anti-celebrity, and that he's always anti, and I feel he has this compulsion. It's almost like he has this compulsion to shoot
Mm,
himself in the foot. Like he can't just straightforwardly, attempt to build a utopia. He has to also undercut it by saying some of the worst kind of
mm.
Trumpian, is that a word?
I think they're Trumpisms. Yeah.
Trumpisms that you just think, oh, how can you even utter those words? But it's like this, like he can't settle on one side. He has to be both. And I don't know, but I think it's really interesting, his kind of gathering of the masses. The kind of Vanessa Beecroft choreographed shows, and the Madison Square Garden, where you had that reveal of like loads and loads of people and people in rows, and there is a militaristic side to that, definitely, but I think it's also kind of protective. And I think there was a phase, I don't know if it's over now, but in fashion shows where other people were also doing, like Marc Jacobs did, where loads and loads of people
Mm,
come out
yeah.
at once, and you feel like they'll crash into each other, but they never quite do. And I feel again that's about contemporary politics and the contemporary situation of feeling overwhelmed and alone, but needing people. And I think the kind of clothing that's like workwear, sportswear, leisure wear, all combined, is that you're sort of fit and healthy, and you're protecting yourself by doing that, but it's also strong and protective in terms of the fabrics that
Mm,
are being used. And I think the sense of it being a lot of people, and like the Sunday service where you see everyone singing together and becoming this unit through the power of the voice, I think is digging deep into African
mm,
American history
yeah.
and union. But then again, he destroys, or not destroys, but he
Mm,
fractures that with some of the things he said. And then the photographer is Jackie Nickerson, who I've loved her work for a long time. I first saw her work Farm, which was photographing African farmers who had improvised clothes from things around them. And I think the photographs she's taken of Kanye are really beautiful. And there's this one that, oh, she was so kind. She got permission for me to use it at the beginning of the essay, where it's like he's back view and he's wearing this huge puffer like gilet that's just a kind of color that's somewhere between grey, beige, and mauve, and you just see him from back view, but you know
him.
immediately it's
Mm,
him because of that silhouette being associated with him. And it's either like dawn or sunset, so the sky is picking up on those colors. And I think it's this, as with the Wyoming ranch, it's this connection to nature, and yet it's high tech fabric, so it's this really interesting combination. And I think her compositions are really amazing, and the kind of seeing color and natural light really beautifully, and connecting body to nature in her work is really just wonderful. I really, really love
mm,
her work. So I'm so happy that I could use that, and that Alyssa, gave me this
yes.
opportunity to write about that, because you don't very often get to write about just what comes in your head.
It sounds wonderful.
So that was lovely. Well, that's very kind of it. I really enjoyed writing, and I love working with Alyssa. She's just the best. So it was really inspiring working with her. and kind of having a constant conversation with her.
Well, I hope we can make it to the exhibition.
Oh, me too. Me too. I think now we know it goes on into January. We should keep an eye on regulations and see when would be a good time to go. Yes, that would
Yeah.
be so nice.
Well, thank you for talking me through
Well, thank you for asking
and
me
for
your
giving
two
me things
questions.
to think about.
You're welcome.
And we talk again next week.
Super duper. Speak to you
Okay.
next week.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.